what's up, folks? Welcome back to the stream. Oh no, Inky was scared when I started talking. Oh, poor baby. How's it going, everybody? It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical. I'm very tired, by the way. Turns out two episodes of Best Armies in 40K, basically back to back. I'm tired. But we are here at long last. We're here to talk about maybe the freaking weirdest weekend of competitive Warhammer 40K results we've basically ever had. By the way, I did a bunch of updates to my audio settings. Let me know if my microphone sounds okay. I'm tripping over my words already. Hopefully it sounds a little bit less peaky than it did yesterday. Theoretically, we'll see. Inky or we riot? It's up. That's up to Inky. All right, my fate is in her hands right now. How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to the stream. Yeah. So for those who maybe didn't watch my Best Armies in 40K that came out this morning, it's a Tuesday Best Armies in 40K. Best Armies on a Tuesday, and that's because of the World Championships over the weekend. So we got World Championships coverage. Took priority over the other events, but holy shit, were the results otherwise insane. Oh, the Streamlines is back. That's good. I hope y'all super chats work this time around. Oh my god, look at this. There are so many events. It was crazy. We saw a huge breadth of undefeated factions, as well as some of the most insane results that we have seen in a really long time. So what I want to do is I think it would be interesting to dive into some of the matchups that, especially, we had two pretty wild results in particular. Assimilation Swarm and First Company Task Force both went undefeated. I'd love to dive into the matchups that they had. Do a little bit of a deep dive into those lists in particular. I talk about the lists in the video this morning. And then we can also take a peek at some of the other factions and how they're doing as well. So ultimately, what an insane weekend. What an absolutely insane weekend. I sound less peaky because I'm tired. You might be right, chat. By the way, the stream will not end basically at the end of this one. I do have a game scheduled right after this over on the Twitches. So if you haven't followed me on Twitch, I feel like I should have a command. Do I have a Twitch command? I feel like I ask this every time and then maybe I don't. Well, let's see. Does my robot respond? No. Okay. Well, that's sad. Here's my Twitch chat. I will be live there after this stream, so the content does not stop. It keeps going forever. Yeah, chat. Assimilation Swarm. Assimilation Swarm. Are you kidding me? That's so insane. All right, so lots of events this week. The big headliners, the ones we'll be probably taking a look at the most. Celtic Cup Grand Tournament was pretty big. That was a major level event. Hey, there's a follow over on Twitch. Thank you, Imshu. Appreciate you. I do stream all my gameplay over there, so if you want to see me play games, I'm live over there, and then obviously those go up on the replay channel later on. The Renegade Open was also a big one that was streamed by Wargames Live this week. Almost a major level event, sort of GT plus. We also had the Du Bois, which I can't find apparently. Oh, it's not Du Bois, it's Du Bois. All one word. This was 72 players, I believe, is one of the bigger ones this week as well. So, a couple of results to look at, which I'm excited about. But yeah, the big one here. Craig Parker with fucking Assimilation Swarm, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's insane. I feel like Assimilation Swarm was personally insulted by saying it sucked. Does it keep winning, chat? Because it like once every 3 months we get an Assimilation Swarm win. I feel like if there was a more consistent trend of Assimilation Swarm doing well, I would feel that my position was in threat. but I do feel fairly vindicated that it only happens once in a while. But it's still impressive when it does happen, so I don't want to take anything away from Craig here. Obviously, winning with this detachment is very impressive because this detachment is fucking awful. But it's so cool. So just as a quick rundown, I do talk about this list in a lot more detail in my video this morning. We had double Tyrant Guard for double Hive Tyrants, Swarm Lord plus a standard Hive Tyrant. Interestingly, this is a little bit of a non-standard composition for this detachment because we're running Instinctive Defense on the Hive Tyrant, so that's a situational fight first and free heroic intervention. It does require you to like jump through this weird hoop where the character with the enhancement has to be within 6 inches of a harvester in order for the enhancement to work. So it's not the unit, it's not the attached unit, it's the specific character model. So the Hive Tyrant has to like stay back and hang out near a Pyroboar or something. But obviously fight first in this huge unit is a big deal if you're able to get it off. And to be fair, most of the time it's going to be like nut to butt with a Psychophage the entire time, so the unit gets feel no pain. So I don't think that's that hard to trigger. It's just weird. But that means that we're not taking the +1 strength enhancement, whose name I forget. Fuck. God damn it. The one parasitic biomorphology. I'm going to go with that, and then I'm going to double check myself. So it's a little bit, it doesn't hit quite as hard as it does with the extra buff, but obviously fight first is a huge deal. It is parasitic biomorphology. I'm so good at words and stuff. Yay. Yeah, so I think what would be interesting is if we go down some results here, because I do want to see. First of all, I want to see who's embarrassing enough to not beat an Assimilation Swarm. It rears its ugly out each time I swear off of it. Yeah. Every time I get fed up with it, like losing an entire Tyrant Guard unit to like trivial stuff. Indeed, chat. Indeed. All right, Mr. Craig. So he won against Dark Angels in the final. Let's go from the beginning, and we're gonna do this as well to Ruben Zhao's list, because Ruben Zhao won with the first company task force, which is so fucking wild. That's unironically probably more impressive than winning with an Assimilation Swarm. But the results from this weekend, I'm telling you, chat, it was insane, absolutely insane. Oh man. Didn't follow it. Only new Custodies won. Saw Dane win the AOS World Tournament. Hell yeah! Congratulations, Denmark. You can watch my video that I released on Monday if you want to know more about the World Championship winner. I talk about his list and all his matchups and the ones that got streamed as well. All right, so beat Eldari, super close game. Which, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Which I think just sort of typically points to the fact that you are very good at scoring, and like there's kind of like I call it macro versus micro control, which is basically like an RTS sort of terminology, where RTS in a macro and RTS means that you're basically your strategy, your ability to choose units correctly and execute a build order and keep up with economy and unit construction is strong. Micro play is the individual like tactical positioning of your units, and I feel like there's a similar thing that happens in 40k where you can have a list composition, right, that makes sense, and you can have a strategy that makes sense, and you'll have to adapt that strategy to each opponent. And so like visualizing a game plan is important and being able to follow through with that game plan. But then there's micro play, which is like your ability, your sort of more tactical ability, your ability to position individual models, to like, flip objective control correctly, to execute like very minute maneuvers and stuff like that. And it feels like these games where you're in what is otherwise like a tough matchup, but you're able to squeak it out by a couple points, that points to really good micro play, because you can do things like if you're able to, you know, reanimate Tyrant Guard or whatever, so that you exactly out-OC your opponent on an objective, and like you're able to execute your reclaim biomass at exactly the right time, and like you know, you don't miss the timing, and you're always in position to do that, so that you can score an additional secondary one time. And those like super, that's what determines those super duper close games. And you'll see the players who are really good at the very top level are good at both of those. Otherwise, you know, some players are better at one instance or another. I've seen plenty of players who are very good at constructing a list and executing a game plan, but they just fall apart when it comes to like objective control or setting up for secondary play and stuff like that. And obviously their results become a lot less consistent. So I think that likely means that, you know, you're able to take a matchup that is typically difficult from a strategic standpoint, but your individual positioning is able to kind of defeat your opponent, or at least give you an advantage enough so that you can circle that into a win. Glad I'm not the only one who's just old RTS nomenclature. Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of like creeping back into 40k quite a bit. Like, we use expansion objectives now, right? Like your natural expansion, I guess, which is like very RTS. That's like real Blizzard coded, where you would have your base, and then you would have an expansion base that you were kind of like theoretically intended to take first in order to give you more resources. And those are now like every deployment type has an objective that's right outside your deployment zone, and those are, everyone calls those like the natural expands. Yeah, I feel like it's really coming back for sure. Do I mean killing not the whole opponent model doesn't win the game? Yeah, if you don't kill your opponent at all, you might not win. Although we did see that demon list with like no hitting power actually do pretty well, so who knows. All right, so we played against Eldari. Kind of an interesting Eldar, just a very MSU themed Eldar. There's one Fire Dragon unit, which is problematic for that style of list because they do like trigger their anti-monster technology against the Tyrant Guard units. But that's really like the only thing that's really threatening them besides random attacks and the Avatar of Cain. The downside of Eldar, or one downside that Eldar can have, is that in an MSU sort of build like this, they have a lot of, like, they punch individually way well above their weight class, but they have a tough time overkilling units. And we actually see Tyranids are kind of like the poster child for this kind of like gameplay where you set yourself up in a position where you're like either threatening an objective control, but in a place where your opponent has to one-shot you in order for it to like make sense. So like Sam Pope's list is perfect for that. You know, it's 80 Termagants, and if you don't kill the entire Termagant unit, they just regenerate back onto the objective that they were standing next to. And this list like struggles with that kind of stuff because very little of it does a ton of damage. It's all a little bit of damage at a time, which means you can like pull yourself into weird positions where you're out of line of sight and things like that. You can sort of activation lock people that way. Another 2-point win against Astra Militarum. Yeah, I think that we are just fucking styling on people with this list. I think your opponent goes, man, I killed your whole team, but you scored 40 points on secondaries because you're able to like position all your spore mines correctly. And I forgot to screen that one turn, you know? A 4-point win and a 2-point win. Jesus Christ. Lord Soleantis, a platoon command squad. Catachans, infantry, chimeras, one hellhound, Leman Russ. Now this is a list that I don't think has that same sort of attack volume problem. I guess it doesn't. It does have a Tempestus Scion unit, but it's not like fully committed to the Tempestus Scion bit. That would be very scary for the Tyrant Guard. And especially as well the Leman Russ battle tanks too, because you want to be on an objective. Leman Russ battle tanks have a bunch of like high AP blast weapons that are pretty high reliability too. So like the combination of those two things will just one-shot an entire Tyrant Guard unit, and then you're in a tough spot. But this is another list where you can kind of feed on their front rank, and then if the Tyrant Guard are able to survive long enough to push them off the middle objective, then things get really tough for the Astra Militarum. once you expose yourself, like, and all the shooting can go into a single unit, it probably dies. But the question is whether it dies early enough so that the Militarum player can't come back in scoring. And I guess we squeaked it by 2 points. Playing Tyranids versus Guard is tough. Any armies versus Guard is tough? No. It's the other way around, chat. Tyranids versus any army is tough. That's the problem that you're having. A 5-point win. All right, so currently we're 3 games in, and Craig Parker has beaten his opponents by a total of 11 points. It was Eldar again. Yeah, I think the same, probably a similar problem, where it's a lot of individual really powerful attacks. At least this one has fire prisms, but they're really bad at killing an entire Tyrant Guard unit. So if you're able to set yourself up in a position where, like, you string the Tyrant Guard, right? You have the Hive Tyrant and, like, 2 Tyrant Guards sitting behind a wall, and then 3 Tyrant Guard are chained out to an objective. You kill those 3, and then you run out of activations, and you're like, oh shit. And then it's like 1 Tyrant Guard comes back into your command phase, something dies, another one comes back, they kill like 5 fucking warp spiders, and then another one comes back, and you're like, oh shit, now I didn't do anything. And I think that's probably, it just feels like an Eldar problem, I imagine. A win is a win. That's true, chat. All right, we finally got a big one. A lofty 8 points over orcs here. It's a Warhorde list with Ghazghkull, Thranka, triple kill rig. Now, I do think Tyranids do have some benefits in this matchup. This list in particular is a little bit light, but you do have the fight first. The fight first Hive Tyrant, which is probably a fucking nightmare for these guys to deal with. Because you're like, well, I could run into this Hive Tyrant, but he attacks me 10 times, and then the Tyrant Guard hit me a million times, and half my unit's dead before I get to swing, and then I bounce, and I kill one dude, and then he regenerates. So I guess go fuck myself. This one feels actually like really tough for orcs. You do have a Hormigaunt unit too, so you can potentially screen at least like half, sort of one flank for a turn. And honestly, you could probably just donate them a Psychophage once or twice. Plus the 3 Pyrovores is also pretty reasonable too. And especially if we're just looking at Beast Snagaboys with Beast Bosses running in, which is a little scary, but a Pyrovore Overwatch will kill like half the Beast Snagaboy squad in one go. And suddenly they're a lot less scary. And just the Beast Boss by himself isn't usually enough to do that much damage. So, yeah, this actually feels like it's a really, really bad matchup for the orcs, unfortunately. Having a huge melee, just a melee beatsteak who fights first is like, the kill rigs help quite a bit. And then, finals game. Imagine the finals of the event being the easiest game that you play. What the fuck? You're like, ugh. You're like beaten and bruised. You've scored like a total overage of like 20 points in 4 games, and you like crawl your way to the final game. And it's a watcher in the dark that's fighting against you. Oh, it's a Stormlance Dark Angels. I love this build. I think it's probably a similar issue to orcs though, is that in that you're trying to fight against this like. You're trying to use an entirely melee army to fight against this like sort of melee powerhouse with fights first. So that gets a little bit tough, which tracks. And it's also like literally no shooting. This list is also insane. What is this weekend? Fuck me. I love this variety, by the way. So it's the Stormlance Task Force, so you're really fast, right? Everybody advances and charges all the time. It's like we're playing the Dark Angels Gladius, except we're just like, fuck it, we're always Assault Doctrine all the time. I don't even care about the other ones. Shooting, that's for chumps. And then you can build this really fast brick of Lionel Johnson and a bunch of Deathwing Terminators just like running up the middle of the table at you. The downside is it's really containable, so you need some amount of shooting to like get yourself out of those weird matchups. And unfortunately, Stormlance does nothing to help ranged attacks besides like the weird advanced strat that it can do. Like the advance and shoot strat that it gets. So it's sad. There's an Eradicator squad. Okay, well, fair enough. That will get Execrid pretty hard. It's also not like comboed out. There's no other additional benefits to it. I guess like You know, yeah, like I said, you could assault with it, but that's about all you get. And then as long as you can set up to counterpunch that, there's like very little to stop you from just getting contained for the rest of the game, and picked apart like one thing at a time. The Tyrant Guard are being led by the Hive Tyrants, chat. So there are, I closed the list, of course. There's 2 Hive Tyrants, 1 for each Tyrant Guard unit. So the Swarm Lord's in there to like CP tax you. That's also another benefit in these melee mirrors. So we basically played like into two armies that had struggled to one-shot the Tyrant Guard, and then 2 armies that were melee mirrors, which also had to deal with the CP tax from the Swarm Lord and the fight first from the Hive Tyrant. So it's very difficult to engage into profitably. But yeah, that's what's going on. Can they bring back 2 Tyrant Guard in the command phase with a strat? Is there 2 CP 5 plus feel no pain? It is a harvester only feel no pain. That's one of my issues with the detachment. The ablative carapace is harvester only. It goes to a 4 plus feel no pain if you're on an objective, which is actually sick. Like you can set up situations where like psychophages or horospexes just tank the fucking world. Which is cute, right? It's cool. That's a good stratagem. It's 2 CP, but you can discount it to 1 with the Hive Tyrant. The issue is that the whole detachment is built around tanking with big units, and this is the same thing with Crusher Stampede. Like the Tyranid Codex is so inept. The whole strategy is like eating damage with big units but not losing them, and it has no way to protect them besides psychophages, which isn't like inherent to the attachment. That's just a unit, right? So it's like, I don't know, chat. Oh man. Yeah, Tyranids have spore mines. Everything's great. I guess that's also, man, it is lucky that we played against both Orcs and Dark Angels. If you're not in a position where you need to use those spore mines to score secondaries, you can just deploy them next to your units, and suddenly your opponent can't advance and charge into you because they can't run up to your guys. That is a really funny interaction. That throws Orc players for a loop. If they don't have the like movement to advance, to like run, get something with a base movement up next to the spore mine to blow it up, then you just turn off their WAD turn, basically, because they can't advance and charge within 6 inches of you. So they have to stay like probably 7-ish inches away and like roll a bunch of really tough charges on their big go turn. And if they fail them, they just lose the game. That's like a, I'm not really sure why spore mines do that, to be honest. Like, I guess it conceptually makes sense because you're like worried about getting blown up when they're nearby, but it's like situationally extremely powerful. Yeah. And it's also lucky that we hit Stormlands as well. So it's 2 armies that will rely entirely on advance and charge to get a benefit, and you're just like, get wrecked. Get absolutely wrecked. The thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that if they have any fast, like baseline fast movement, you can't keep your spore mine within like, you know, move plus 12 of them, because they'll just kill it with like an assault intercessor squad or like suppressors or a truck or something. So it's very situational, but you can do it that way. Pretty funny. Yeah, so the ways to regenerate out of sequence, right, is when you destroy a unit, which Spore Mines is also triggered, right, which is like kind of funny. So you can put yourself in situations where you kill Spore Mines to regenerate your units, and then when you destroy units, you can also regenerate if you're next to a Harvester as well. So you have a couple outlets to consistently regenerate your guys. You can basically get like you can basically get like 3-ish guys back per turn. How well would it do into World Eaters? I imagine not too bad. It's like basically all the benefits that we just talked about. The difference is that World Eaters hit super hard, so like once they're able to get in and actually engage, like they can't charge this dude if he's set up defensively, because he'll just kill like 5 8-bound when they come in, or maybe, you know, he'll kill most of an 8-bound unit, and suddenly they can't kill him back. But they can hit the other stuff really hard. Like, you have the Hormigons that can shut them down, and like we said, the Biovores can like sort of slow things up, and the Pyrovores are a problem. But once they get in, they can do it. It's probably an interesting game, but I do imagine it's Assimilation Swarm favored. This list feels like it is like, it is kind of keyed to just like prey on melee armies. Maybe that was like a metagame consideration too. If we expected, close my Dark Angels I was looking at. If we expected like a bunch of lists like this, that actually makes sense that you'd play that detachment. But that was decisive. Craig beat poor Ian over here by more points than he won by twice as many points. No, more than twice as many points as he won won by in all of his other games. That's like crazy. Fight on death. That was really, oh, that's true. Yeah, but it's the fight on death's inconsistent, right? It only triggers on a 4. So you charge in and like you might get your guys to attack, but even then, like, do you attack enough to get through 24 wounds with a feel no pain? I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where Spore Mines can trigger your reactive regeneration. It gives you a good way to generate additional ones. And that's why we saw there was a technology a couple months ago where you took a Sporocyst in that detachment, so you could generate the big Spore Mines, and then just sort of like trail them out and start blowing them up on people in the mid game and start regenerating your units again. The downside, like, all the regeneration technology is cool. The issue is that you have to be able to survive the entire phase, like, without losing it, like the unit, and that's the tough part, right? At some point, there's a time, if your opponent has any guns, preface. And at some point, there's a point where the Tyrant Guard have to push forward, and they are, once they're like out of cover and in the open, they are not that hard to kill. Turns out 3+ save, 6+ feel no pain is not the craziest thing in the world, and they will just get lit up. All right, let's discuss some fucking Space Marines, chat. Oh, actually, you know, before we jump off Tyranids, let's not do that. Let's talk about the other Tyranids that went undefeated, who I am gonna look up right now because I forget where they were at. So we had a tie at the Canis Belli, and we had a win at All Stars Cooldown. So this is Hellstorm Wargaming's event that old Mikey from Hellstorm was running, and Michael Duff went undefeated with Tyranids. Let's finish our Tyranid discussion before we log off, because it is Crusher Stampede, which is classy as hell, so that's cool. And Crusher Stampede is cool, and I like it. So we're running Swarmlord as the only character. All right. That's easy. Fair enough. Biovores, double Lictor for utility, Pyrovore for utility, double Exocrine, Maleceptor, Norn Emissary. So I do like that because the Norn Emissary doesn't benefit hugely from the +1 to hit, but the +1 to wound from the detachment ability once you're down below half is like huge. And it is hard to kill the entirety of a Norn Emissary in one go. So this model, it does have baked in defensive technology, so it's actually not that easy to kill. We have a Psychophage to staple to the butt of all the big Tyranids, and then triple Tyrannifex as well. The Norn Emissary is kind of new, I think. Not many people are playing Norn Emissaries in Crusher Stampedes, but the Tyrannifexes are definitely like the way to go for sure, because they're so hard to kill all the way down. And you benefit from the +1 to all the attack bonuses with your ranged attacks too. Cool. No acid spray on the Tyrannifexes, which is interesting. I do wonder if these lists end up running into like issues with high volume enemies. Because you're like, you have this big rupture cannon that in a lot of situations is just going to bounce off stuff. But I think the point is that the Tyrannifexes are always good for at least one shooting phase, because it's very difficult to kill them in one go because they get their damage blank. So they get to trade with all your like Gladiator Lancers and stuff. That is going to actually kill your entire army if they're left unchecked. which will certainly help. And then you can just like sort of passively kill infantry by hitting them with sticks. My cough here in a second. All right, the other one was from the Canis Belli GT. The one of the judges from this event actually commented on my video this morning. He said that these two players apparently had identical battle point scores, and I think went down to third tiebreaker in order to determine that Patrick Phillip won with Tau Empire. This is Retaliation Cadre. I talked about this in my video this morning. But that's fucking wild. Their total, like, this is a differential scoring system, right? So the thing that mattered for the first tiebreaker there was the difference in scores between them and their opponent, but their actual scores that they scored throughout their games were the same. The numbers were the same. And it went down to strength of schedule, and Patrick Phillip won it by 0.1 strength of schedule point. I guess he also would have won by battle point SOS. But otherwise, like, these tiebreakers are so insanely close. Which was so funny. Pretty insane. Yeah, that's a good call out, chat. Then the Norn gets +1 to hit with its guns. I mean, yeah, once it gets bracketed too, it enjoys the +1 to hit. It just gets to ignore its bracketing, basically. Which is nice. All right, we were running another Crusher Stampede. So it was 2 Crusher Stampedes, 1 Assimilation Swarm were the undefeated Tyranids this week. I feel like we are... It's so hard to give up Invasion Fleet. And to be fair, I think that there's a universe where like the Sam Pope style of Invasion Fleet with all the infantry gets sort of counter-teched. But it feels like we're very slowly moving to a metagame where Crusher Stampede is the optimal way to play Tyranids, which is insane. That's an insane thing for something for the metagame to have developed, because if you had asked me a year ago if I thought Crusher Stampede would be the best Tyranid detachment, I would say fuck no. So we have Death Leaper, a Hive Tyrant, a Neuro Tyrant with Ominous Presence, which I believe reduces enemy OC, is that right? That are within 6 inches of the character. I think that's what it is. Oh no, it adds 3 to its own OC. Excuse me. Excuse me, chat. That makes it OC 6, right? So it's like it can just like wander around and take objectives by itself, which is kind of sweet. 5 little goobers will not take an objective from him. 10 Hormigons, just for a disruption unit and a screen. Some Biovores, an Exocrine, 1 Lictor, 2 Maleceptors, interesting, a Psychophage, Raveners for utility, Trigon, triple Tyrannifex. Yeah, so the Tyrannifexes are like locked in. These ones are all Rupture Cannons as well. And the Trigon's locked in. I've talked in the past about how much I like the Trigon and Crusher Stampede, because the hit and wound bonuses benefit the Trigon's like trillion, million, 1,000 melee attacks that it has really well. And especially since it kind of like self-delivers with Rapid Ingress. And then just a bunch of tanky boys hanging out in the middle. Nice. Interesting that this one is a Hive Tyrant and not the Swarm Lord. We want 1 on each side. One guy's got a Hive Tyrant, one's a Swarm Lord. And Death Leaper here to reduce enemy leadership, and then you get the Neuro Tyrant like -2 or -3 on Battle Shocks within 6 inches. So you can commit Death Leaper really hard, and then Battle Shock your opponent, all your opponent's stuff in the middle. Pretty solid. Loved 9th edition Crusher Stampede because it was broken. I also loved 9th edition Crusher Stampede. Largely, I think, because it made winning really easy. 9th edition was a wild time. Everything was broken in 9th edition. Did Genestealer call it too well at Worlds? They did pretty well. They did solidly. It wasn't quite as like GSC pilled as I was expecting, but they did good. They did good work. All right. So with that, I want to talk about some frickin' first company chat. I love these dives into these insane lists. So, Ruben Zhao might be my hero. Because this man constructed a first company task force and won a fucking GT with it. Insane! When Canis is hungry, he eats a Canis bell. Nailed it. Nailed it. Tyranids are too squishy, too low damage this edition? Yeah, I mean, I agree. 100%. Yes. I think Tyranids are okay. I liked Tyranids when... Tangent. It's Tactical Tuesday Tangent time. I liked Tyranids when they were squishy and didn't hit very hard, but they were unreasonably fast because I liked how much agency it gave you. It was like you would punch something and it would be like, oh, that's it, that's all you do, and you're like, yeah, that's it. I hit okay, but like your capacity to hit them literally anywhere at any time was like really cool because you could always like pinpoint the weak points in your opponent's army and then sort of destabilize them from there. And then if you played the fight phase correctly, at least in 8th edition and early 9th edition, if you played good fight phase manipulation, your opponent was just like, you would just kill them. But it required you to be like literally perfect all the time with no problems, which was insane. That was my favorite rendition of Tyranids, I think. They were too tanky and hit too hard last edition, in my opinion. But they were like pretty fast. I liked how fast they were. I wish that they did less damage in 9th, but were faster. But that is what it is. We have not looked at the Celtic Cup. I did talk about Innis's list, though, on the Monday, on the Tuesday, the Best Armies video, though. Well, now you have to play a perfect game and also get ridiculously lucky, and hope your opponent like is like a drooling idiot too. Like it, you know, it's the same level of finesse required, but without any agency. So you're like, your opponent has to give you the opportunity to win. Basically, is how 10th edition Tyranids feel. What? It is what it is. You can't be good every edition, you know? Maybe 11th edition they'll be better. Maybe they'll get a sweet detachment where they like actually do stuff instead of just like, you know, sitting in the back and hoping your opponent like has a seizure. Speaking of your opponent having a seizure, let's talk about this first company list. So, yeah, the interesting thing here is this Terminator Ancient like Wombo combo. So he projects his aura, where when you fail battle shock checks, you lose whole models out of your unit. Non-monster, non-vehicle just loses a model, and once per game loses D3 models instead. He's in an Assault Intercessor squad. Yeah, it's a good call out on the Reavers too, chat. I don't think I talked about them in my video, but the Assault Intercessor squad, when it charges, forces a battle shock on whatever it impacts. So you can set up the situation where you have the Reavers up, like hanging out with your opponent, so give them the battle shock penalties, and then the Terminators hit them, and you start forcing additional battle shock checks, and every one of them loses the models. So before the Terminators even make any attacks, you're already like whittling them down. And then the Terminators just enjoy the first company like once per game full rerolls because they get hit rerolls for their Thunderhammers and then wound rerolls to trigger devastating wounds. It's all pretty nice. And then the big combo there is that we have Rebooting Illiman, so he can, on the turn where it matters, he can issue 2 Oath targets, or he can retarget Oaths after you kill your first Oath target. So the turn that you like trigger your whatever it's called, like extremist level threat, and you get all of your rerolls on the oath target, you also declare that he's going to do 2. And then you get to shoot one thing to death and probably kill it. And I talked about how like kind of insane the Redeemer gets once you're rerolling wound rolls. There's a reason I love this thing in Salamanders, and like it's not a particularly it's not a deep combo, but once you give the Flamestorm cannons wound rerolls and any sort of wound bonuses, they go fucking insane. So you point at like 2 things in the middle of the table. The Land Raider Redeemer just cooks one. You shoot it with a Storm Speed or Thunder Strike. So it takes a bunch of damage from big missiles and stuff, and then you shoot 2d6 plus 6, like +1 to wound, full reroll, Flamestorm cannon shots at it, plus all its other shooting, and it just like tunes you up and probably kills whatever it is. Then you retarget the oath, and then theoretically the Terminator squad goes in and just punches it to death. Which is cool, right? That's cool. It's a lot. There's a lot going in there to ensure that you can kill 2 things once per game. But you know what? We made it work. Pretty good stuff. Wish you didn't own 2 Scythes Hyrule. Bro, I own 2 Dimacarons and 3 Hyrule. But like in reality, right? Like there's gonna be a universe where something Hyrule equivalent gets released for Tyranids, and you just have to rebase those fuckers, and then you're like good to go. The Dimacarons basically already have, like, if you play that, you can play them as Norns. They're just like really big Norns, and like you just gotta. I think they're on ovals to begin with. You rebase them on circles, and like they're just fine. I think if I ever played triple Norn or something, I would just use Dimacarons, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye at it. So there's like, especially in Tyranids, like Tyranids are just like so wibbly wobbly that you can substitute stuff over, like I think as much as you want. Oh, I think this is going to be a kind of a similar situation over here with our first company. Hyrules need to come back. I would love it. I think that'd be sick. The downside is that, like, the problem I think is that Hyrules like fight with Tyrannifexes right now, and it's really tough to. It's really tough to, like, have them be mechanically different. I guess the Hyrules are more of a combined arms thing, right? They shoot and they fight, whereas the Tyrannifexes only ever shoot, but they kind of occupy a similar niche. But it is really unfortunate that Tyranids like don't have any knight equivalent kind of stuff. Like they have literally no access to super heavies besides like the trash ass Hierophant or cool Mimi Harridan. But they have nothing in the interim. You're like either with the size of Warhound Titan or we don't show up, and you're like, okay, well, can we have something that's like 300 points maybe? Like no, you get a bad Norn Emissary. Oh, okay, cool. I love that. I love being strength 9 on my 300 point melee unit. Yeah, Norn Emissary, of course. The world's worst Greater Demon. Alright, so we're up against Tau Empire, first round. It was Mont Ka, though. Interesting. Bunch of Ghost Scale battlesuits, bunch of Riptide battlesuits, bunch of Skyray gunships, kind of normal stuff. Mont Ka is a little bit funky, though. If you dodge them early game and you just like commit in the mid to late game, then they can run into some problems, and especially if you can use the like Land Raider to dissuade early push from the Breacher teams to like prevent you from just getting walled in, and you like Overwatch a whole unit to death, and it feels pretty solid. We hit Tau again. What the fuck? I also wonder if Mont Ka, they have a +1 AP strat, right? If they target you with 2 units, because otherwise, like, I think they literally have problems killing the Land Raider once you like, because you have free stratagems from Gilliman, so you can windmill slam, smoke, or AOC on that thing constantly. And that feels like it's tough for Tau to deal with. Especially, it seemed like that list was pretty heavy on ion cannons. It was just the Skyray gunships as like big long-range shooting. Ah, this Chad running a Kroot hunting pack. He did lose by harder, though, so that is unfortunate. Hey, Ruben's in the list and in the chat. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. Hot take, but I feel like people still aren't understanding this late into 10th how much reliable anti-tank they need to kill Magnus, Knights, etc.
I think that's probably true. Yeah. It's a tough situation because I think one of the reasons that like there's the potential that we're running into this horde meta is that things are so difficult to kill that you have to like dramatically overcommit to trade like profitably against a lot of stuff. So you know, you have like the double-stratted Land Raiders or whatever, or even just like smoked fucking Lehman Russ. It's like I'm a 1+ save and -1 to be hit. And you're like, okay, cool, and 13 wounds. All right. Well, I will shoot. If I shoot it with my 4 las cannons, I will do exactly nothing, and then lose. Cool. I love that for me. So I think that there's like an overcorrection that you have to do in order to reliably kill that stuff. And it just becomes this like weird meta of skews, right? Where like on one hand, you have a million infantry who can prey on the fact that you have to take too many like big anti-tank guns in order to win. And then on the other hand, you have the big anti-tank stuff that preys on the fact that everyone who texts for the horde stuff just beats you. That feels like where we're headed. We'll see like what new releases can shake things up, but I think the edition has had this continual slide towards defensive characteristics, and without like, you know, with no access to like, nobody's got mortal wounds outside like Thousand Suns. You know, your like AP characteristics tend to be kind of like mediocre. There's a lot of defensive stratagems and technology like available to a lot of factions, and I think it just gets like kind of problematic. Harridan isn't an epic hero, so you can take 2 of them, yeah. 1,300 points and an OC of a big goose egg. Let's fucking go! Do I think Tyranid monsters are like weirdly low in toughness? No, I actually think Tyranid monsters are appropriately difficult to kill. The problem is that they're really slow and they don't do anything once they get there. That's the real issue. Like Tyranids are like a bizarre, like a fucking weird ass Death Guard equivalent, where they're just like this like really slow like brick faction now, where you're like, I put my Psychophage next to my Venom Thropes and chain all my dudes back to them, and I'm really tough to kill, and I just like out OC you on objectives, and you're like, okay, cool. So their defensive profile characteristics for cost are actually like pretty good. The problem is that they don't actually back that up with anything. So you're like, ah, no, I failed to kill that Tyranid monster because he's toughness 11 for 100 points. And then he like swings back at you and he's like, take 2 damage. You're like, oh, okay. That was it? All right, I'll hit you again, and then you kill it. Yeah, only 2 have a 2+ save, but the other ones are like really cheap, right? Like a Maliceptor is like 14 wounds with a 4+ invul, and like usually -1 to be hit, and occasionally also -1 to be wounded for like 170 or whatever. Like a Haruspex is T11 for 125. Like, I don't know. A Hammerhand Railgun is good on paper, realizing your opponent feeling a single reroll. Yeah, it was a mistake I made when I was like super new at the game. I put like some amount of anti-tank in my list, and I was like, here's a bunch of auto cannons. Like this will kill a vehicle. And you're like, yeah, it might kill 1 vehicle, but then like the rest of your opponent's army gets to go, and you're like, ah, it was not enough. Yeah, it like having a las cannon is not good enough. You need a million of them. Yeah. All right, Chan. Let's talk about Space Marines again. Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Ryan. Give you a little heart in chat. Thank you so much for supporting. So we're running 60 Crute in this list, 2 big units of 20 and 2 units of 10, and then following that up with a bunch of anti-tank in the back. Ghost Kill Battlesuit to chill on objectives, 2 gunships with railguns, a Rampager unit, pretty exciting, plus a Crute Hound unit, big Crute Hound unit. So basically 70 Crute, like infantry. 2 Crute Riders, a Pathfinder team, Skyray gunship, stealth battlesuits ×2, Bespin Stingwings. So I guess the question is like how well the Marines punched through hordes of stuff. I'm sure that the Redeemer helped quite a bit. Although it is railgun, it's certainly railgunnable. So that's like a little dangerous. The Repulsor Executioner, I guess, is also like, it deserves a shout out. It's kind of like a second big gun, but it has enough anti-infantry attacks that it's able to just like cut down the little squads too. So the combination of the 2 big tanks could get through the stuff in the middle. The question is like the issue is doing that in the before being like blown up by the big pew pew guns. Oh, and I guess like a Reaper, yeah. And you can kind of throw the Reaper out, right? Like it's not like Crute Carnivores are gonna live through everything. Like they'll probably eventually die. They're tough to kill in the Crute detachment because they're invuln save and they have stealth baked in. So it's not like they're gonna be difficult or be like super easy to kill. But you can make your opponent like overcommit to the Reaper maybe, and then hit back with the Executioner. Plus Gilliman killed a lot. Yeah, Gilliman sweep is actually sick. It used to be way more impressive when the devastating wounds carried over. That was fucking nuts. The dude would just like rock in and be like, hey, I kill 30 models. Yeah, but Gilliman sweep is awesome. Crute Carnivore special weapon only rolls 1 for number of shots and 1s to hit. Or you forget about it. Yeah. I guess like Gilliman's actually kind of a safe committal into Tau too, right? Because as long as he's lone operating with the combi weapon lieutenant who's also in there, just like stapled to his butt, then they can't really do anything about him, right? Like he's not gonna die to a Rampager unit. To be fair, who will? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And so they have to shoot him with a railgun, but they're not gonna go within 12 inches of him because it's like a disaster. And he just gets to like just chill in the center of the table. That's actually kind of sick, to be honest. I like that. I like that. And then we were up against Adeptus Sororitas. Kind of normal bringers of the flame stuff. A billion Castigators, a Dominion squad, Exorcists, Paragon Warsuits, and a Seraphim squad. Interesting. I wonder how much difficulty they have with the Land Raider. They have Immolators, so they can cut the cover from smoke. And then you could issue the +1 AP. And you could probably kill it if you like overcommit. But it's tough to kill it with the Dominions because you can overwatch the Dominions really easily. So you can't really like commit with the Meltagun infantry. You have to do it with multi-meltas off the vehicles, and that gets really awkward. And the longer range stuff actually like legitimately has problems. Because they have to get through the higher toughness. T12 is actually like a weird breakpoint for sisters, where outside of Morbin Ball's unit, they kind of struggle. But that's another unit where you don't want to get too close because they're only T5, so the Redeemer's Overwatch is like a fucking might kill literally the entire Paragon unit. So like it's really difficult for them to engage into. You have to just like roll 5 ups with Exorcists, I guess, and hope for the best. That one's like pretty awkward. It did kill the Falcons. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I imagine that Redeemer killed a lot of stuff in that list. It definitely feels like the Redeemer's like the champion there. I'll fact check myself here, chat. Oh yeah, T7. I think I'm thinking of 9th edition stats. But if you hit the +1 to wound on them and or full reroll, it should be fine. Either way. Yeah. Yeah, reroll wounds on the huge volume 2 damage torrent is sweet. You know, it's like that dude just becomes, he just turns into like 2 arcane vortex guys stapled together. Right? He's basically two arcane vortex infernal masters without the devastating wounds. But assuming he's getting the rerolls, he's essentially just like, he's like 2 of the best character in the game. Short range, so you got to get him into the fight. He's not 2 arcane vortex against Catan. I guess that's true. It's just regular. He's just a regular guy. But there's a lot of extra anti-Catan technology in this list, right? Like a Catan will still take 1 trillion damage from the flamer if it's rerolling and gets all the bonuses, and then like you can also just like burp gun them down with the Reaper too, probably. Chun Chun, I talked about Dark Angels in my video this morning. They won a GT down in Australia with Gladius Task Force. You check out my Best Armies in 40k video, it's in there. And it's timestamped too. Oh, we know what this list is. One against World Eaters. Chad Redeemer against World Eaters, right? Just get overwatched, idiots. Bunch of Exalted 8-bound and stuff. Oh, 2 Forge Fiends. Hey, we're actually playing the Forge Friends. Although they don't really have any good targets in this matchup, which is unfortunate. The downside of the Forge Friend is that they only cap strength 10, so they're good in most situations, but if you like show them a solid wall of T12, they're just like, oh. No, I'm sad. I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna do maybe 3 damage, and then you're gonna be -1 to hit, and you're gonna shoot me with a bunch of torrent weapons it doesn't matter on anyway. Womp womp. And then last was really close against Astra Militarum. How do I think the new Thousand Suns detachment would be taken over the current one? It would have to have a similar level of synergy with psychic weapons. I don't know. Thousand Suns are so weird. You can do anything with them. It's like such a bizarre parasitic like army composition that if you just like totally reframe the, I think like in order for it to be good, you'd have to basically give it like a whole new look. You know what I mean? I don't know. The current one's Cult of Magic. You could do like Cult of because they have all their different cults, right? They have the Cult of Duplicity. That one's like super maneuver focused. They could do something like that where you just have like 1 trillion reactive moves and stuff. That'd be cool. Running Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar, Tempestuous Command Squad, Ink Commander. This seems like a normal ass list. Oh, there's Bulgrin. Something for the Land Raider to shoot. Nice. Plus Luminous Battle Tank Exterminator, double Ogren squads, Aquilons, plus big Scions. And would we have a Scion command unit? The Bulgar mostly died to Fear Made Manifest. Did they really? That is like, I think the best one is it's got to be like big mounted units, right? You fail a battle shock check on like a chariot, and you just die. That's gonna be the big one. But like any of those heavy infantry, has to be pretty good. It's gotta feel nice. The dream is to hit like Centurions, right? Really want to fight Necrons all weekend. Yeah, you just start forcing them on like Wraiths. You just start ripping Wraiths off the table without rolling any dice. Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, the Bullgrin feel like they're a good front line, right? And they at least they're -1 damage, so they don't get just like trucked by the Redeemer. But the Reaper should like just basically like kill them over 2 shooting phases. They don't feel like they're the biggest danger. Getting to the Lumen Rust in the back feels like the scariest bit. But if you can play like combat chicanery well, it feels like it's probably fine. Race will be fine. Will they? Will they? Will they? I don't know if Wraiths love losing like D3+1 models immediately as soon as they get hit. Yeah. You hit what's like the highest value thing you could hit? Like a real funny guy to make run away. It has to be like the Triumph of St. Catherine. You gotta hit the Triumph of St. Catherine. That's the one. That's the sauce right there. That's the spice. A 250-point infantry model, like singleton infantry model that just fucking vaporizes. I guess they could put her with Battle Sisters and then they just lose Battle Sisters. So that's less bad. But like, who does that? Really? Who does that? Abaddon's good too. Are there any other like really wild ones? What about Logan Grimnar and a Storm Rider? Eh, he's not that expensive. That's not as exciting. Oh, Gaskell Throck! Makari's like, I have a 2+ invuln save, and this like fucking idiot with a flag is like, all right, I don't care. Get the fuck out of here. If you kill his like his little friendos, if you kill his like 2 Meganobs, then you just like force the battle shock and he fails it, and you're like, D3, I guess. 66% chance your entire like Supreme Commander just fucking explodes. What a fucking hilarious enhancement that is. I forgot Gaskell Throck is infantry. That's so wild. What a time to be alive, chat. Robo Booty Gilliman's a monster, but Gaskell Throck is infantry. He's so big. You look at him on the table and you're like, that dude? That dude's infantry? Jesus Christ. People kept passing their battle shocks. It's very annoying. Ruben, welcome to the Tyranids. Welcome to being a Tyranid player. Are you enjoying your time with the Tyranid faction? You're like, all right, here's a Neurolictor. If you fail this one, I'm gonna grenade you, and then my whole army's gonna like fucking annihilate you. And they're like, I passed. And you're like, that was leadership 9. You had to roll a 9 up. I'm like, yeah, I know. I made it though. Okay. Whatever you say, man. Good stuff. Congratulations on winning with First Company, though. That's so fucking cool. What a cool weekend we had, chat. All right, wanted to take a peek at the Celtic Cup as well. Funny how chat always goes over to Tyranids. Yeah, there's like there's an inherent bias in this channel. It's because I used to make almost exclusively Tyranid content. So I imagine that like there's a huge proportion, like, you know, 40% of the people who subscribe are Tyranid players. But that's changed. No longer. 10th edition has disabused me of the Tyranid faction. I will no longer be talking about Tyranids. All right, what do we want to take a look at over here, chat? Lots of Genestealer Cult. Jesus Christ. Calm down, Genestealer Cult. I'm going to need you to take a chill pill. Innes Wilson was playing Ascension Host with like 160 infantry. We had a Biosanctic Breed Surge from Ryan Kerr. which is kind of like normal stuff, I guess. Yeah, we've seen this list a million times. Did we also get one of those from Larg? Yep. Yeah. It's weird that Biosanctic Bird Surge has very quickly become very boring. Samus from the Discord, by the way. Samuel Norton Alexander over here. Made the top cut with Adeptus Sororitas. Good on him. Did I see the rules for Madam Web? I did see them. I did see them. I mean, I saw the spoiler that they gave. Is there like more stuff? Do they have stats? I just went to Warhammer Community. I learned literally yesterday, by the way. They just released a War for the Rohirrim like boxed set for this. I learned yesterday that that's like an anime, and they're doing like a brand integration with it. I was like, what? That's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. It looks so divergent from any other Lord of the Rings stuff. It's weird. Yeah, I'm just excited to put more models in the Phoenix Lord list. Like, I never was really convinced that like 9 characters was enough. I think we're gonna have to get a 10 for sure. I'll probably cut Eldrad, I guess. Well, we'll see. There's gonna be a whole new. Oh, they're all gonna have new rules, so who knows what they're gonna do. It's gonna be good though. Yeah, Candyman looks like trash though, which is very funny. What's the over/under that Candyman gets legended, and they just like totally forget about him? Is he available for purchase? No. Seems maybe pretty good. It seems maybe likely that Candyman gets legended. Uh-oh. Alright, this is a normal Asperger's of the Flame list. Let's talk about Necrons. Who wants to talk about Necrons? James Lighton, 3rd place at Celtic Cup. Not playing Sisters and not playing Genestealer Cult. But look at this, chat! It's an Obeiscance Phalanx! Let's fucking go! Hell yeah, dude. Everybody was... I know someone in the chat's gonna be like, hey, what about Obeiscance Phalanx Necrons? We got them! We found them! And they did good this week! Because it's a weird week where nothing makes sense. And that's what I love about it. 2 Hexmark Destroyers. Imhotep the Stormlord. Sweet. Translocation Shroud Overlord with Honorable Combatant, which is the thing where your opponent loses CP when you kill them, right? What a bizarre enhancement that is. Yeah, when you destroy an enemy, when your unit destroys a character unit, your opponent loses a CP. To be fair, only 10 points, so that's a good points filler. I feel like I kind of want to die on the hill that I think every detachment should have like a 10-point stratagem. Or 10 points enhancement. Because it does feel bad to literally have no way to spend your last 15 points or whatever. There are rumors of a new model for him? For Candyman? Okay. Oh yeah, we'll definitely see more Silent King for sure. Yeah, him getting the noble keyword is huge for this list, for definitely. That was definitely a mistake he didn't have it to begin with, to be fair. We've got a Canoptic Reanimator, so stapling it to the back of the big vehicles to get the extra regeneration. Doom Scythe. Okay. Is there internal synergy between a Doom Scythe and this and Obeiscance Phalanx? Just -1 damage, right? You can make it crit on 5s. Does that matter? No. Oh, it's sustained D3. Oh. Huh. That's actually kind of frightening. You're like, hold up. You can give it reroll ones to hit, and then sustain D3. Or critical 5s, and it's sustained 2 on the Trust of the Destructor too, so it's actually like, it's a lot of critical effects. Okay. Well, that's kind of spicy. Damn. Oh, it has its own 5-up critical effect. But you have to have declared the stratagem first. Weird. Bro Hammer Chris, you played this guy at the tournament, got him round 2? Imagine you play a faction where you spend 100 points on enhancements. Dude, I play demons, bro. Of course I spent 100 points on enhancements. Doomscythe was the MVP because it was WTC train. Maybe I'm a big stupid dummy. Why does WTC make the Doomscythe better? Also, WTC train could be like, you know, are we on blank tables where it can see everything, or are we on closed tables? So, or you know, what's the word? The fucking dense tables. Jesus Christ, dense tables where it can it can actually move over the stuff. Oh, they were open. Okay. Interesting. I think there was a little bit of that going around WCW too. I guess it's just the big like the 10-inch tall walls, right? That would only be the only like reasonable line of sight blocking there. The little L ones, right? There's like the ones that are like have a low wall and then they go to a second story on the corner. Those ones would do like fuck all, right? You would just have the big 10-inch tall ones. Interesting. That's really wild. Cool. And then we got some Doomsday Arcs to hang out with the Silent King and shoot people. We got some played ones, Locust Destroyers to do, and Ophidian Destroyers to do secondaries, and then double Lich Guard. And we have a Translocation Overlord for one of them, and Imhotep for the other one. This list seems pretty good. Here's the question. Was the Canoptic Reanimator chilling with the vehicles, or was it hanging with the Lich Guard? I imagine it was chilling with the vehicles, because you can probably kill it if it's hanging out with the Lich Guard. But if it's sitting like behind a Doomsday Arc that is already 9 inches long, it's actually really far away. They soft confirmed the December Guard detachment will be Scions. Yeah, well, they literally discussed the detachments, right? But I don't like it would make sense that it would be Scions, but I don't think it's necessarily like locked in. Silent King, Reanimator, and Arcs are all grouped. Cool. The one downside, I guess, is like, well, I guess that's like so voluminous of a brick, right? Because the Doomsday Arcs are fucking huge, so they extend 1,000,000 inches out on either direction. So it's actually really like kind of easier to get line of sight with them than you would expect. The downside is that obviously the reverse is also true, or it's really hard to hide them. But it feels like in some instances, I guess it depends on the terrain, but it might be easy to like sort of avoid the big brick until you can kill it. But anything that tries to kill a Doomsday Arc and flubs just dies instantly. So, and I guess you're -1 damage, and they're -1 damage, and they are a 4+ invuln save. There's no spider, right? No. But just -1 damage should be probably good enough to keep it going against a lot of shooting, unless it's like really, really, really high damage. Yeah. Cool. This is a cool list. Brohammer, thanks for the breakdown, dude. I appreciate you. Got a little Chaos Knight action. Also here. Cool to see OBS and Phalanx doing things though. Love it. Much nicer than just like Hypercrypt Legion again for the millionth time. There's a bunch of War Dogs in this list. All right, well. Cool. Good job, team. We put a bunch of War Dogs together. Love it. You love to see it, you know? A little bit of Space Marine action as well. Ultramarine Vanguard. This is the Cato Sicarius Vanguard list. Which I honestly expected that... I like these little breakdowns that people do sometimes in their list to tell their opponent what they do. I honestly expected to see more of this list at WCW, but it didn't do that hot. But we have the forward deploy, Marnius Calgar, like Eradicator Brick. Cato Sicarius is the reactive move and scout. And then Uriel Ventress gives you deep strike and an additional instance of a CP tax. Although it doesn't, we don't have Shadow War Veteran on the combi weapon lieutenants, so it's only one CP tax unless we have a Paladins, which we don't. So just literally just Uriel Ventress. I think he gives deep strike to the big Centurion squad. There it is. We have company heroes for both Cato Sicarius and Ventress. Oh, it's an aggressor squad for the forward deploy. Are there any agents lists? 2 people took them to World Championships. The Chaos Knight detachment will be War Dog focused. There's no way. They wouldn't be that silly, right? And it's like really good too. They're like, guys, we wanted to give the little knights some way to compete with the big stuff. All right, chat. What else should we take a peek at? Aggressor is the best with Calgar? Yeah, they definitely synergize best with him. But he does give Eradicators advanced chew, which is never bad. I think I am gonna take a quick break here, chat. I have to go to the bedroom. So why don't I leave you to it for about 5 minutes here, and then I'll be back momentarily. I apologize. A short intermission is required. I'll be back in a sec. Cheers, everybody. We are back, chat. I apologize for that that little break there, but you know, sometimes you gotta go. All right, what should we talk about next? Anybody have a sweet anybody have a faction that they want to dive into before we move on? Nurgle Matt, how's it going, dude? Nice to see you in the chat, dude. How's it going? Any interesting Imperial Knights list? Let's take a peek. Wouldn't be upset if the new NID detachment gave you a second round of Shadow in the Warp. Maybe an enhancement that's basically the Neurolictor ability on a stick. Yeah, some way to increase damage would be great. I would love the capacity to actually kill any of my opponent's models ever. It's so funny because, like, you constantly see Tyranid armies, you know, there's this, like, predominance, absolute predominance of Tyrannofexes in these lists right now, and that's because the only fucking way they kill anything is by taking literally the biggest gun in the faction and hoping for the best. You know, that's just where it's at. That's what's up. That's how it works now. All right, so let's find some Imperial Knights to discuss. Go through all the big majors. All right, over here at sorry. Whoopsies. I'm sorry, buddy. I thought I still had my different source open. All right. Over here at Du Bois. Du Bois GT. 8th place. Burton Wright went a convincing 4-1 with Imperial Knights. 51-point loss. Sag. But 200-point wins, 94 and an 86. 100-pointers are rare, and that is impressive. Rocking a one Canis Rex, Mysterious Guardian Atropos, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Armiger Hellfriends, 2 Armiger Warglaves, Calidus Assassin. Holy shit. Okay, let's go. The Atropos has plus 1 to hit. No, it's what the fuck is the Atropos's bondsman? It's a bonus against monsters and vehicles, right? And then an extra bonus against Titanic. Reroll, hit roll. Oh, it's full rerolls against Titanic. Okay, well that's pretty good, but very limited use case. Only in the mirror match is that good. Pretty strong though. But realistically, we're just like stacking a bunch of Armiger Hellfriends next to each other so we can benefit them with the Squire's Duty. So that they can all get the +1 strength and AP on their guns. And then once you dump their guns to strength 10 AP 2, things go kind of crazy. And we did see even lists like these that eschewed like 2 Armigers to get an Immolator into the allied slot, and then they get ignore cover too. So like the amount of damage from these things is actually insane once they start adding all that stuff together. And if you're a flying unit, you die. See ya. We can maybe look at the Krieg stuff later, chat. We're talking about lists right now. If we want to talk about, like, look at new release stuff. There was a Chaos Demons at the Renegade Open, I think. That was right off of the Top Cut, yeah. And I do love Chaos Demons, so I'd love to talk about that. Eric Olson was running some Chaos Demons with a Bloodthirster. Let's go. Okay. And an Exalted Flamer, Great Unclaimed One, Lord of Change, Shalaxi Hellbane, Skulltaker's Celeste. So no Bellicor, first of all. We left him at home. Endless Gift guy, Everstave guy, and then Shalaxi. So it's 4 Graders. Celeste has like a little bit of a... I guess Celeste could jump into the Demonite unit, but it's kind of weird. He gives them like weird 5+ devastating, but only if they wound on 5s. So it's like specifically you get an enhanced devastating against only T4 and T5 enemies. And I guess lower toughness too, but you generally don't need that, which is kind of strange. We have a bunch of Blood Crusher units. Skulltaker, we're just taking him. There's no bloodletters. Oh, okay. You're just hanging out. So he normally grants you devastating, right? But he also just has it baked in and also gets rerolls against characters. So I think we're just rocking him as like a little character assassin. And I guess the hope here is that it's unlikely you're going to take fixed secondaries against them, right? Because these 2 greater demons only give up 8 points on Bring It Down. The other 2 give up 12, or give up 6. Great and Clean and Shalaxi are both 20 wounds. So they give up 6. So you theoretically could max Bring It Down against this list if you kill every single greater demon. So you could take BID Assassination, but only if you're confident that you are going to table a demon army. Which is like, usually demons can delay the game for long enough that they only start to engage with the big stuff on like turn 3 onwards. And then you kind of run out of time to kill them, especially the Guo and Shalaxi just being super difficult to kill in general. And that ends up being not a very good selection for you. You were probably better off taking tacticals. But it kind of like edges you a little bit. It's like, hey, you want to take some kill secondaries? You want to take some fixed? You could. You could score them. Look, I got a Skull Taker and an Exalted Flamer. No attachments. They're just gonna do an action and maybe stab a guy. But then you'll get assassination points, and your opponent's like, ugh, maybe, you know what? Maybe I will. And then you're like, oh, cool. Everyone goes into Deep Strike and hides. Goodbye. I must go. My planet needs me. Very funny. But yeah, this is just devastating wounds, full hit, and wound rerolls against characters. Precision. 3 damage apiece. So he hits like a fucking truck. AP2 is a little bit awkward, but that's usually fine. Mostly you're bouncing up against an inbound save. I don't think I've ever seen a singleton Skulltaker played before. That's so funny. Good old singleton Skulltaker over here. All right. Are there any other undefeated lists that we haven't talked about that are interesting? And if anybody else has any factions that we want to dive into, go ahead and let me know. Now, I did talk about this list in my Best Armies video. I didn't talk about this one. This was a standard Warhorde, though. So it's a little bit less exciting. Just a bunch of beast bosses. 2 beast bosses, Snickrot, Gaskell Thraka, double war boss. Beast Snagga Boys for the beast bosses. The war bosses, it looks like, are going into... There's Mega Knobs for Gaz, a Knob Squad for a war boss, and then a bunch of kill rigs to carry the Beast Snagga Boys around, trucks to carry the knobs and stuff around, and then Gaskell's ground pounding it, I guess. Pretty much normal kill rig style of Warhorde, but it's cool to see kill rig sort of like really coming into the fore because that unit is legit and definitely underplayed. Website's a little slow today. Actually, mostly every day. This website's just a little slow, I think. Go back to my beautiful face while I wait for that to load. Jesus. Oh boy. There was some invasion fleet Tyranids going down. They register themselves as forces of the hive mind, but it's just invasion fleet Tyranids. Oh, this is a wild list. So over at the German major, we had an X1 Tyranid, Felix Hawk. This has been a Tyranid build, real Tyranid build discussion today. I actually watched a list like this play. I want to say it was at ATC. It was at ATC, American Team Championship, and it was an invasion fleet. That one ran both Hive Tyrants. It was Hive Tyrant, Foot Hive Tyrant plus Swarmlord. Adaptive biology on the Hive Tyrant, so he's tough to kill. He's got a 5+ skill pain that increases to a 4+, plus an Arrow Tyrant. Gargoyle unit, a Hormigaunt unit, 1 Biovore, 3 units of 5 Gene Stealers, 1 Lictor, 1 Pyrovore, 2 units of 3 Raveners, and then a million Tyranid Warriors. 2 units of 3 melee bioweapon warriors, a big Zoanthrope unit for sort of a counterpunch, and then a bunch of guns. 2 Maliceptors, 2 Exocrines. So it's kind of like MSU Invasion Fleet, which is kind of sweet. You have a little bit of a front line with the Maliceptors, and then backline shooting from the Exocrines and the Zoanthropes, and then a lot of little individual units that can run around and score secondaries and like trade with your opponent. And these little units love to have this the passive detachment buff benefits because they don't really need to do any work to unlock like their lethals or sustains. So, and especially like just the melee warriors are they get reroll hits if they choose their offensive like attack mode. So, or reroll once they hit, I should say. So they have a little bit of additional synergy with a critical hit effect. So they become really good at killing. Like it's 18 attacks with sustain 1, reroll once to hit. So you're probably converting most of the 18 attacks. And twin linked on your wound roll. So you're like probably handing 15 saves to somebody. Which means that they're very good at just like clipping out other utility stuff. So as long as you feel that you the sort of like heart of the list, the big monsters in the list, basically like this stuff here can kill your opponent's big things. You've got the little stuff kind of taken care of with all these tiny units running around. The Raveners too have a similar thing. They have less. They don't have the rerolls that the Tyranid Warriors have, but they have more attacks because they're 7 attacks each. So you're attacking 21 times. So it's like a similar level of output, but at lower AP. If John Lennon believed Nits were good, he would have taken the WCW. I think that's probably true. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty much the consensus, at least among the sort of like high tier of the competitive community, that the Astra Militarum are probably really good. It might not be that he feels that like Tyranids are horrible or anything. He certainly has a rosier view of Tyranids than I do, but he is also just better at 40k than me, so I don't know. I think that he has a warped perception because of the fact that he is able to win many games off of his own skill. And so he overvalues whatever he's playing at the time. But I do think that he probably believed that Astra Militarum were like the obvious choice. There's also a little bit, I think, among the real upper echelon, right? Like the real sort of elite of the scene, where there is a perception that success with a faction will get it reviewed more heavily by the balance team. So I know that some people, if they feel that a unit is particularly good or bad, they will play it. And I'm sure Art of War does this to some extent. They'll play it more heavily to showcase whether it's particularly good or bad. So I think if there is the perception that Astra Militarum are really good, then they'll play Astra Militarum more heavily to try to get eyeballs on it. And I can't tell you for sure whether or not that's what happened at WCW, but I do know that has been a rationale for some unit and faction picks in the past. Tyranids are winning. Time to nerf aberrants. Time to nerf aberrants again. Who remembers in 8th edition or 9th edition, whatever it was, when Muscle Beach was really good, like the first time around, and then they just, I think it was 8th edition, and then they literally eradicated the archetype. Like they took the unit out of the game. It was like so bad. I think they did datasheet up changes and increased their points cost. It was like the classic GW double hit. This is an interesting Knights list, by the way. I'm just over here on All Stars cooldown. This is Hellstrom Wargaming's event. They had 2 Knights players in the top 4. Feels like a lot of people are running with this like mass Armiger 2 big knight build. This one's running an errant with unyielding Paragon though, so for the AP reduction, which is kind of sweet. Oh, excuse me, got a little hiccup. Ugh, hope I don't have the hiccups. Would hate that. This one's running basically the same thing. It's a Warden instead with Revered. Oh my god. I might actually have hiccups. No way. I don't know if I've had hiccups in like 10 years. What have I done? What have I done to deserve this? Revered Knight. I guess it's a 15-point enhancement. It increases leadership characteristics of Knights models within 6 inches by 1. And the aura increases if you're honored. Probably a points filler. The Warden's an interesting pick, though. He reduces damage to Armigers he targets, so you can sort of like trade a little bit more effectively with the Warglaives. It's kind of sweet. And he's a Gatling cannon plus a melee weapon knight. Interesting. The Tyrant Guard themselves don't get their feel no pain? Yeah. Yeah, so keyword sharing is different than ability sharing. A unit, like a, if we look at a data sheet, right? I got the Warden data sheet poked up here, right? So the abilities typically only apply to the model themselves. Keywords are a totally separate thing. Keywords are this stuff, and these will, those will, a unit will have all of the keywords of its assigned models. To be fair, if they have any effects, the effect of the keyword typically only works on the unit, the model itself. So like a monster in an infantry squad doesn't confer the ability to walk through walls to the monster, because that affects infantry models. So like, generally speaking, if there is a negative connotation to your keyword, most things will take advantage of it. So for example, if you have an infantry and a monster in the same unit, then you'll be affected by both anti-infantry and anti-monster. But any positive benefits typically only affect the model itself. So like the ability to walk through ruins and stuff is only infantry. Only the infantry models in that unit. Abilities are always model specific. However, some will say this model's unit, or like a unit this model is leading, or something like that. In which case they'll confer that particular ability. But if it doesn't say anything like that, then it always only affects the model itself. All right, chat. I do have to wrap up in a little bit here to get over to our to my streamed game. We have time for probably 1 or 2 more lists if we have any factions that we want to talk about, or we can talk about Deathcore Krieg stuff. I will preemptively pull up our Warhammer community article. All right, first of all, the biggest news from Warhammer community is this fucking guy. Look at this little baby. He's such a little baby. I love the Arva slider, by the way, chat. I think this little dude, he's this little bumblebee, is so cute. And I'm so excited it's getting a plastic resculpt. That's rad. Also, randomly yesterday, or like the other day, they announced a new Total War DLC. Interesting. Okay. Was that in the Championships preview? Just like no one talked about it? Probably not. Oh shit! I'm on my face cam. I'm sorry, chat. Yeah, this little bumblebee. I love this little guy. Look at him. He's so cute. I want 40k rolls for them so that I can run him in all my armies. I want him to be an unaligned model again so we can take him all the time. Although he was really bad earlier. But now he has a las gun, a little las cannon thing. Or multi-laser. That might be a multi-laser. With his little pilot firing it out the back. What a cool model. I love it. So sweet. It looks like the Enterprise transport shuttle. I think that was probably intended. Because I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of like a shuttlecraft, right? Because that's literally what its purpose is. Many 30k models yield 40k rolls for it. Yeah, I do kind of appreciate that they have sort of differentiated the two game systems, and that like models no longer just like permanently transfer over, and then they have to like double their design time, and that's where like you got 8th edition with a bunch of weird fucking stupid rules that were all like really broken. Because they kept releasing 30k models, like Horus Heresy models, and then giving them 40k rules. You know, and you like randomly like Javelin land speeders would be super busted, and then like you'd have to think about that. And Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Who remembered the solid 2 years where every Space Marine army was nothing but Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts because they were so broken? So by the way, chat, the first thing I said when these guys got previewed, I was like, oh, thank God. It's finally a preview where Age of Sigmar doesn't just distinctly have the best models. At least these are very cool. A great execution of the theme of the designs, right? AdMech needs some love, yeah. Yeah, it is like a travesty. I mean, they're sort of locked in now, right? Like the AdMech range is the AdMech range. But I remember back in like 5th edition when none of that stuff was fleshed out, and Skitarii were like this thing of legend. And you're like, whoa, what do they look like? I bet it's weird. And they released them and you're like, oh. Okay. Like, that's fine, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I think the AdMech range looks bad, and I think the 30k AdMech range looks really good, and I wish they had just not done. They just flipped them, you know? But it is what it is. Unfortunately, 6th and 7th edition was a hell of a time for 40k miniature design, so that's what we got. Yeah, so they said that so this is Dreyer. What is it, like Field Marshal Dreyer? Is it his name? Lord Marshal Varnon Dreyer. They said, yeah, he's good in combat. He does the Herald Deathwolf thing where you get devastating on your mount attacks, I think is what he said. Or maybe it's devastating on all the melee attacks. I don't know. But you get devastating when you charge. They also said that, yeah, he uppy downies. Or he regenerates when he dies. I have a sneaking suspicion this dude's gonna be like sub 100 points and be pretty good at melee, and I think you just play him. This is what we were talking about on stream earlier. I think that he ends up just being like a little utility character, like one of those little fuckers who like rapid ingresses into your opponent's backline on about round 3, and just like runs around and like kills 5 Space Marines, and then you kill him and he stands back up and he takes your home objective, and you're like, ugh. This sucks. Go away, Field Marshal Varnon Dreyer. I hate you. I imagine he exists in that capacity. Hope we get Dark Mechanicum in 40k. Yeah, when they announced Vastor, I sort of assumed, but nah. They didn't do it. I love that are the horses dated? They have like expiration dates on them. 933 M4. M4 something? M41 probably? That's so funny. What hooves? There's no hooves here, chat. Just a little paws. Cute little paws. It's very 40k aesthetic, right? Like the horses have like wires directly into their brain and they're like weird mutants. You look at it, you're like, oh, a cool cavalry model, and you're like, hold up. Wait a minute, this is weird, and I'm sad now. Makes me unhappy. And they talked about him in the on their thing, yeah. Is it their serial number, chat? Because that fucking looks like a date to me. Because what's fucking Dryer's horse's name? Like ES 832 or whatever. They said it in the thing. ES 819. I was fucking close. These don't start with ES. They have an M. They have a rotate. We'll have a spin around to this eventually. So they wouldn't follow the same naming convention as Dryer's horse, is all I'm saying, chat. And the classic dating, the dating scheme is year, period, millennium. And that's what they have here. So that seems like it's a date to me. Also, they all start with 9. Which is the current year that we're in canonically, right? And then new engineers, new combat engineers. They got a little robot, a little mine robot who explodes. It's interesting how close these guys seem to Kazarkin, but they are just Krieg Kazarkin, right? They're Kriegserkin. But I guess they flip warrior elite for like a free grenade strat, I guess. Which is kind of whatever. But they said like they have this mine ability, which is probably like just essentially a longer range version of the Melta mine from the Krieg or from the Kazarkin, and then also they're a special weapon scout unit. So they feel like they're probably going to be similar. The downside is that it feels like the two datasheets will conflict, which I'm not quite happy about, but it is what it is. Deathcore room. Yeah, it does. It's literally the opposite of a vacuum. It pushes gas out instead of in. How do the engineers have a club and not a shovel? They excavate their trenches with explosives, chat. Of course. That's because we have enough shovels in the Deathcore thing already. Oh, there's shovels in this kit, though. Let's go. There we go. Look at those fucking glorious shovel bits, chat. This is like the weirdest, and there's like a little shovel with an entrenching tool with a little sheath on it. This is the dumbest criticism, but the thing that stands out to me about this like ordnance battery, the field artillery unit model, is that the sandbags look fucking awful. And I think it's just because like the rest of the model's gorgeous, right? And it's just that the sandbags are right in the front, and so they like take up so much space, but they're so bland and annoying looking. When I was a kid, I had some sandbag like little things that I would build into like walls and stuff for my 40k games, and I had a couple different versions. There were a couple where it was like individual sandbags, you glue them together, and those look fine. And then there were some where it was just like all cast in one thing, and it looked exactly like this, and it looked terrible. And I think you can just leave them off. It's not that big a deal. We just don't have them. It's just unfortunate because I think it's like an eyesore on this model because this model's really cool. I love the little historical diorama of a miniature, but I think it's downgraded by the placement of the sandbags. But clearly you can just ignore them. Trench warfare no longer works in our world. That is demonstrably untrue. Demonstrably untrue. That is absolutely incorrect. Just Google the word Ukraine. Yeah. Unfortunately, trench warfare still works for sure. Apparently it's on a 120mm base. Yeah. Yeah, so it's the size of a great unclean one, right? Is that right? Or is he a 130? What else has a 120mm base? Hold up. Great unclean one is a 130, right? So it's slightly smaller. What else would be on that base size? Guo says 130. Is this also how big? How big of a base did they say? They said it in person, right? Don't say. But it's basically the size of a Great Unclean one. A Telemon? No, Telemons are small. They're 100, I think. They might be like the Armiger size. An Onager Dunecrawler? Oh! That's true. Onager Dunecrawlers do come on really weird big bases. Yeah, I think a Telemon's the same as an Armiger. Onager Dunecrawlers are fucking huge, though. For like, no reason. Because they're like 11 wounds. Like T10, 11 wounds. Okay. But they're enormous. Oh no, Armiger's also 130. An Armiger is the same size as a Great Unclean one. That's fucking insane. What even is this game? You know what I mean? What does a Soul Grinder come on? Oh, that's like a 160, right? That's like huge. Soul Grinder is spelled Soul Space Grinder. Also, Soul Grinders are less expensive. Yeah, that's a 160. Less expensive than a Onager Dunecrawler. Wild. Are we saying trench warfare does work in 40k? Yeah. 40k is like a technological regression. That's like the conceit of the universe, right? Where like for the most part, like most factions in the setting are operating on a level of military technology like commensurate or lower tech than our current, like what we're using currently, or at least an amalgamation of technological levels, right? Because you're like, on one hand, you have literal medieval knights charging, and then on the other hand, you have laser guns. But because of like there's such a disparity in availability of tech, like high tech weapon systems, that the like medieval cavalry charge still works occasionally. So yeah, of course, trench warfare would work. That's like the whole point of 40k. What if sci-fi, but it was also trench warfare? Warp drive, but no sonar. Yeah. Also, AI isn't reliable. I mean, that's just true to real life, right? The abominable intelligences kept creating really bad looking, like porn. And so they had to get rid of them. Like clearly fake looking images. And then this cute little commissar guy. This whole command squad. I love it. I also love these things too. These heavy weapon support squads. Apparently this thing is just an 18-inch range. It's like a ball flamestorm cannon. that just a dude has with a backpack mounted gun, which is seems legit. If they're infantry keyworded, you play the shit out of those, which they almost certainly are. They knocked it out of the park with this preview, chat. I feel like we make fun of 4K Warhammer 40K previews so often that it's nice to have one where it's just unironically sick, and you're just like, this is the coolest shit. I'm so excited. Plus, like, a bunch of new fucking detachments and shit. Are you kidding me? It's gonna be a good time. It's a good time to be a Warhammer player, chat. And we get all these Eldars. I love that new Eldar stuff. It looks good. It is, I think, a little bit of a cop-out, because it's like interesting, I think, that Eldar are so married to like the 1980s design philosophy that they just have to stay the same. It's like, it's a weird idiosyncrasy of Warhammer in general, that it's like such a venerable franchise that it's like locked into these aesthetics that are getting kind of dated. But as long as you upscale them to 4K, which is basically what we're doing, they look okay. The Flamer is 612 with twin linked. Wait, it's twin linked? What? You can do a 20-man Krieg squad with a command squad and a marshal now? Yeah, you could always do that. As long as no 2 characters attached are command squads, you can attach 2 units. So you can make a 26-man unit right now. In fact, you can make it bigger because you can add Ogren bodyguards and regimental attachés, I believe. So you can make like a 30-man Krieg unit, which is pretty fun. Look at the model. Which model? What are we talking about? Oh, the Exarch guy? Yeah. Looks like he gets a multi-laser, or a scatter laser too as the alternate option. Oh, the Flamer guy. Oops. Shit. What have I done? Come back here. Two barrels. On the Flamer? That's one Flamer. I don't know. But to be fair, they made the Pyrovore twin linked, so like you know, who knows? They can just add twin links to things, which I am in for. It's a little bit unfortunate that the keyword is like associated with having 2 guns strapped together, but also many times 2 guns strapped together either isn't twin linked or it just gets it because they want to give it rerolls, which I'm fine with. More rerolls in 40k is more fun, in my opinion. I wouldn't call the Flamer OP just yet, chat. I mean, who knows? It does seem like it's really good. if it's an infantry unit with a huge fucking flamethrower, it's probably gonna be really strong. But maybe it's like movement 2. You have to move it to do anything, and then it even just goes 5 inches. You know, I don't know. Who knows? Or maybe it can't move and shoot. It can only shoot and remain stationary because it's got to set up. Who knows what they do? Also, I love this guy. The dude's got fucking 3 death spitters. What a Chad. I also like that they all come with their little shrine too. That's so cute. All the aspect warriors come with their little friend. I wonder if they do something. Do you think they're gonna do something? Maybe they like flicker jump once per game, and that's just like the token that you use to remind yourself they can flicker jump. Oh, that would actually be really interesting because the swooping hawks have one too, right? Do the fire dragons have one? Yeah, little dragon. Maybe their abilities become token, like locked to tokens. That would be interesting. Then they could use it really, like, they could do really powerful stuff with it. That would also really, like, curb the degeneracy of Aspect Warriors right now. Because right now, like, Swooping Hawks have infinite uppy downy, and the Warp Spiders have, like, infinite flicker jump, which gets kind of annoying when you have reactive moves as well, or like after shooting moves. For a while, there was an archetype for Eldar that literally just dumped 3 CP onto a Warp Spider unit every turn, so they could flicker jump, fire and fade Phantasm, and basically just like go 18 inches and then end back where they started at the end of during your movement phase, and you couldn't do anything about it. And they would shoot you with like 11 devastating flavors. It was miserable. And I wonder if they limit the usefulness of their like maneuverability abilities for that reason. Fate dice are apparently going away, except for one. It'll be a detachment ability in one of their detachments. They're getting like battle focus back, I guess, which I'm of two minds about. We'll see how it ends up. The new datasheet only has Deep Strike and Shoot and Scoot. Oh, they just traded their abilities? What? That's insane. William Aranda. Would I be willing to come to Mexico to cast a tournament? Listen, I will go anywhere. If you send me an email, my email's in my on my contact section on my channel. Shoot me an email and we can talk about it. I'm willing to go wherever, but I do ask for assistance with travel, so it's up to you because it is going to be that would be a journey for sure. Hawaii might be tough. Yeah, I haven't decided about flying yet. We'll see. My stuff right now exists in giant boxes, which I don't want to put on a plane, but you know, never say never. At some point, they'll probably expand to that point. Yeah, Russia might be tough. Right? that might just logistically be difficult. That's not a personal hang-up. I don't know if I would be allowed. That's the real question. Assuming Behareth is the same price, is the whole package worth it for actions at 180? I mean, if they shoot and scoot, they're probably just worth it anyway. I think you just take Behareth by himself, right? How much is Behareth now? Oh, I have to hop off in a sec here, chat. So we have run over. He's like 110 or something. 125. Is that worth it for just uppy downy? Maybe. You think there's like an Aspect Warrior Phoenix Lord detachment where you get the like from the ashes back, where the Phoenix Lord can come back to life? That would be fucking sick. What the heck? Is 40k allowed in the gulag? Jesus. Oh man, yeah. Next stream in 1 minute. Yeah, I'm gonna be late. I think. I'll have to hop off in a moment here. They said that Behareth, it's his leadership ability is the uppy downy. Oh well, it's a lot for 180. I get it depends on probably like what the aspect or what the Exarchs do. If you can also get damage out of that unit, it feels okay. So if they shoot enough lethal hit shots and then run away, it's like probably fine. 180 for a unit that can do actions really good and also like drills damage is probably solid. So I don't know. I bet it's okay. What am I playing on my Twitch stream? It is thousands. I'm playing demons. I'm playing against Thousand Suns. All right. I think I am going to go ahead and hop off. Ugh. Thanks everyone for hanging out, chat. Glad we got to talk about these meme lists for a little while. We did a little bit of an exploration of their effectiveness. But I am going to go ahead and prep for my Twitch stream. So thanks everyone for joining me. Please come hang out with me on the Twitchies. I'll go ahead and throw my URL in there real quick. Bloop. Twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise. I'm going to be live there basically right now. So cheers everyone. I'll see you there. Have a good one.